Okay, students, when the ghost reached the twins' bedroom to take revenge, he found the door was open a little way. He wanted to give the boys a big fright, so he pushed it hard. A large, heavy jug of water fell down onto him. The jug just missed his left shoulder by a couple of inches, but the water went all over him. At the same moment, he heard screams of laughter coming from the beds. The shock he suffered was so great that he ran back to his room as fast as he could. The next day he had a bad cold. He was thankful that he had left his head behind last night, or things might have been much worse. He now gave up all hope of ever frightening this rude family. He crept about the corridors in soft shoes with a warm red scarf round his neck to stop him from catching a cold. He carried a small gun in case the twins attacked him again. The last shock he received happened on the 19th of September. He had gone downstairs to the entrance hall, feeling sure that he would be alone there. It was about 2:15 in the morning, and as far as he could tell, no one was awake, as he was walking towards the library to see if there was any sign left. So, students, the ghost went to the bedroom of the twins in the appearance of a headless nobleman and wanted to frighten them. But to his surprise, when he entered the room, a jug of water fell onto him. He himself was once again tricked by the twins. It was quite shocking for him. He had a cold as well. He lost hope and decided not to even try to frighten the Otis family. All he used to do was to walk in the corridors very quietly, but soon on the 19th of September he got another shock from the Otis family. Okay, now when Virginia asked the ghost where he wanted to sleep, the ghost answered, "Far away beyond the woods," he answered in a low voice. "There is a little garden. There the grass grows long and deep, and the birds sing sweetly all through the night. The moon looks down, and the old yew tree spreads out its great branches over the people sleeping there." Virginia's eyes filled with tears, and she hid her face in her hands. "You mean the garden of death?" she whispered. "Yes, death. Death must be so beautiful, to lie in the soft brown earth with the grass waving above one's head, and to listen to the silence, to have no yesterday and no tomorrow, to forget time, to forget life, to be at peace. You can help me, Virginia. You can open the gate to death's garden for me, for love is always with you, and love is stronger than death." Virginia blushed and trembled, and for a few moments there was silence. She felt as if she was in a terrible dream, and then the ghost spoke again. So, students, when Virginia asked the ghost where he wanted to sleep, the ghost told her that he wanted to sleep in the garden of death because there is peace, no worry of tomorrow, and no pain of yesterday. He asked Virginia to help him because she has kindness and love is stronger than anything. Virginia felt as if she was having a horrible dream. So, coming back, when Virginia was running past the library, she saw someone in the library. The door was open and she thought she saw someone inside. Perhaps it was the maid who sometimes did her work there. So Virginia looked in to ask her to mend her dress. To her great surprise, however, it was the Canterbury ghost himself. He was sitting at the window, looking out into the garden. His head was leaning on his hand and he looked very sorry for himself. Virginia's first thought was to run away and lock herself in her room, but the ghost looked so sad that she felt sorry for him. She decided to try to talk to him. She walked into the room so softly that he did not realize she was there until she spoke to him. "I am so sorry for you," she said, "but my brothers are going back to school tomorrow, and then if you behave yourself, no one will annoy you." "It is stupid to ask me to behave myself," he answered, looking round in great surprise at the pretty girl who had dared to speak to him. "I must bang my chains and must make groaning noises and walk about at night. It is my only reason for being here." "You have been very wicked," said Virginia. "Miss Zumne told us the first day we arrived here that you killed your wife." "Well, I admit it," said the ghost, "but it was a family matter and nothing to do with anyone else." "It is very wrong to kill anyone," said Virginia. "My wife was very ugly," said the ghost, "and she never had my washing done properly. She could not cook either. However, it does not matter now, for it is all over. And I don't think it was very nice of her brothers to starve me to death, though I did kill her." "Starve you to death? Oh, Mr. Ghost, I mean Sir Simon, are you hungry? I have a sandwich in my case. Would you like it?" So, students, when Virginia was going back to her room, she saw someone in the library. When she looked into it, it was no one else but the Canterbury ghost sitting at window. He looked very hopeless and sad. She felt sorry for him and told him that from the next day her brothers will be busy at school, so no one will bother him. But he has to behave normally. But the ghost refused to behave. He also admitted that he killed his wife because she was not a good wife, as she never did any washing or cooking for him properly. And so, as a revenge, his wife's brother starved him to death. Okay, now students, continuing with the story, when Virginia had that long conversation with the ghost, and she finally got to know that he starved to death. So she offered him some sandwich, and the ghost said, "No, thank you. I never eat anything now, but it is very kind of you. You are much nicer than the rest of your nasty, rude family." "Stop!" cried Virginia, stamping her foot. "It is you who are rude and nasty, and you are a thief too. You stole the paints out of my box to try to color that blood stain in the library. First you took all my red, then some of the green and the yellow. I never told the others, though I was very annoyed. And it was most stupid of you, for whoever heard of green blood?" "Well, really," said the host, "what could I do? It is very difficult to get real blood nowadays. And as your brother began it all with the Pinkerton's perfect cleaner, I certainly saw no reason why I should not have your paints." Virginia moved as if to leave the room. "Please don't go, Miss Virginia," cried the host. "I am so lonely and so unhappy, and I don't know what to do. I want to go to sleep, and I cannot." "Silly ghost," said Virginia. "All you have to do is to go to bed and blow out the candle. It is sometimes difficult to keep awake, especially in church, but it is not at all difficult to go to sleep. Why, even babies know how to do that, and they are not very clever." "I have not slept for 300 years, he said sadly, and Virginia's eyes opened wide in wonder. "For 300 years I have not slept, and I am so tired." So, students, after all that conversation, the ghost appreciated Miss Virginia for being kind towards him, unlike her family. Virginia told the ghost that she knew from the very beginning that he was stealing her paint colors in order to color the blood stain in the library. During the conversation, the ghost told Virginia that he felt lonely and very much tired because for 300 years he could not sleep. It was very astonishing and surprising for Virginia. Now please come to the bottom heading, "Please help me." Virginia came towards him and, kneeling down at his side, looked up into his old lined face. "Poor, poor ghost," she whispered. "Have you no place where you can sleep?" So, students, Virginia, when looked into the eyes of the ghost, she felt pity and sorry for him and asked him where he wanted to sleep so that she could help him.